Scientists around the world say deadly natural hazards such as flooding, fires, and hurricanes are likely intensified by climate change, which is why this week we're focused on a major climate solution. Sarah Pila is looking into regenerative agriculture and how it could help our climate crisis, and she joins us live in studio with more on what she's learned. Good morning.
Good morning, Giselle. So the EPA estimates that industrial agriculture plays a major role in climate change, contributing about 10% of total greenhouse gas emissions here in the U.S. But on my trip to the TomKat Ranch that practices regenerative ranching, they say if we manage our land in partnership with plants and animals, we could create healthy ecosystems that combat carbon emissions. Managing the land at TomKat Ranch is big responsibility, but this type of work is in ranch manager Mark Biaggi's blood. He grew up on a grass-fed dairy, and he's passionate about perfecting the science of managing land for grass-fed beef production.
These grasses evolved with grazers, so if you're actually going to work with nature and the way we evolved, we need to allow the grazers to graze the grasses.
TomKat Ranch practices regenerative ranching, a system that works in balance with nature to produce healthy food. The practice supports a symbiotic relationship between animals and plants that creates a robust ecosystem above and below the ground. Cattle graze in one area, then migrate to another, stimulating plant growth. As they leave behind their excrement, they fertilize the soil. Over time, the land becomes resilient, absorbing more water rather than running off or eroding, which is something Mark saw after this wet winter.
The atmospheric rivers need to slow down. We need to dry out enough. We start growing more grass. But I would rather deal with the atmospheric river. I'd rather any day deal with too much rain than deal with a drought.
The cattle aren't the only grazers on the land. These Spanish cashmere goats are a big part of the overall strategy. Livestock specialist Mukete Kowinzi works with all 130 goats in the herd, including the 40 babies born this past spring.
They are helping us to mitigate some of the effects of climate change. The managed grazing that we do that helps rebuild soil health is an incredible way to actually capture carbon in the soil.
The goats also contribute in ways that the cows can't. They eat not only grass, but woodier species, helping with brush management and fire mitigation.
Because of their small stature, just get into a lot of places and start to break down that brush that can often contribute to fire and fuel loads.
In addition to the goats, TomKat Ranch partners with CAL FIRE for prescribed burns on their property. It's an important partnership to San Mateo CAL FIRE Deputy Chief Jonathan Cox. A century of fire suppression has led to an accumulation of millions of acres of fuel load across the state, resulting in large damaging fires. So they need landowner cooperation to fight this threat.
And it's a model for what needs to happen across the state to get the land back in a more manageable, sustainable future.
Prescribed burns and grazing with cattle and goats are all part of Mark's recipe in managing this land, working with nature to make it as resilient as possible to some of its greatest threats, like fire, drought, and flood.
And if we can work with the land and the natural attributes of the land, then we have a better chance of being successful.
Success marked by a strong ecosystem that can withstand the elements to continue to produce grass-fed beef. And managing the land in conjunction with nature is key to a well-managed ecosystem, not only affecting food production, but that means soil health, wildlife, watersheds, and even climate stability. So many benefits, Giselle, if we can just manage our land in concert with nature.
Yeah, just little tiny condition. How meticulous is the ranch in migrating the cattle to different pastures, and how important?
Yes, it is really it's quite the science. The ranch is carefully managed with their grazers. That's the cows, that's the goats. It's designed to mimic the ways that roaming herds moved. And this includes when they graze, how long they're at a certain area, and how many of the animals actually graze a plot of land. And managed grazing is critical to growing healthy soils and grasses. And that also means time for the land to recover. You know, if grazers stay too long and the rangelands don't have time to recover,
take it all away.
Then you could take it all away. And you could take it away a lot quicker than you can to restore it. But once that cycle begins to improve, it starts to really improve exponentially.
And this is truly a real solution to regenerating the land. How many people are doing this?
Well, it is still definitely, I don't want to say under the radar, but it's still not the majority. But it is all about matching when and where livestock graze, and then, of course, monitoring that recovery. And, you know, they look at this around the world at TomKat to see who's doing this, and it's gaining traction. And I think there is a community that is, they want to get their word out, right, so they can inspire other ranchers and farmers who think, you know what, maybe there's a way here, and I can be part of the solution.
And it's historic. I remember Kat Taylor, who is part owner of this ranch, saying that she goes all the way back to the Serengeti and how cattle and animals used to migrate, and that's what naturally did it, right?
Yes, that woman is so passionate, and she looks at our past to help our future and present.
And so do you, Sarah Pilla. We'll be right back.